I'm going to start off this morning with a bit of a rant. You've probably seen the video. Well, let me start off by saying that I'm beginning to hate mainstream media, or old stream media, as I'm now calling it, more than ever. I mean, it's and not to trust it at all. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about the fact that it is turning so completely useless and anyway, let me give you my example. You've probably all seen the video of Elon Musk coming down the stairs the other day at the CPAC, and little X following him down the stairs about 5 stairs behind him. And it looks as if Elon goes off into the crowd and just ignores the little boy. And I have to admit, I kind of looked, wow, that's not very good. Not that I couldn't have ever been in that position. So I could have, all right, you trust the little kid. He's been around the situation before. Okay, but then we see the real video today, the rest of the video. Oh no, it's been cropped. Oh yeah, once again, we see it happening. And in this particular case, you see before and after that segment that the mainstream media cropped to make Elon look like a horrible dad. Oh, no, you see him going back before. This is beforehand. You see him going back and making sure that that X is coming along. Then you see him going down the stairs, and X is making his way down the stairs. You see Elon going into the crowd about 10, 12 feet, and then you see him turn around and make sure that X is right behind him. I mean, the whole thing looks absolutely perfectly normal. Even a doting mother would have thought that Elon did just fine. But no, completely corrupt media. I don't know what to do because I have to I'm in order to get you the news every day, I have to look at this stuff. Well, another example today, all of the headlines, 100% of the headlines are talking about the horrible sales of Tesla vehicles. And is this the end? Oh my gosh, do they have a sales problem? I mean, there's headline after headline after headline talking about Europe and how sales are down so much in Europe. Well, I've been saying on this channel for a while that I think that this whole, to do over in Europe will, impact sales a little bit in Europe. But the articles, they eventually get around to talking about the fact that it is the first quarter, which is seasonal. They get around to mentioning, oh yeah, well, they did switch over all four factories simultaneously, something no car company. Well, they don't mention that no car company's ever done anything remotely like that. Oh, they don't talk about the fact that that might cause a reduction in sales during the first quarter. They don't talk about Chinese New Year coming in January instead of February last year, which would cause a complete change. Oh, they don't, no, none of that gets mentioned at all. All they talk about is, oh, is there? Well, okay. So this morning, I'm sorry, I forgot to get my device here. So this morning, we have a start to the market of Tesla down $19 at 311.52. Now, Tesla's not the only one suffering this morning. We could look over here at Bitcoin, which is also down dramatically. I'm missing it. Here we go. Down 7,255 at 87,000. That's pretty wild. We could go over and we could take a look at the NASDAQ, down a full percent again this morning at 21,188. We could look at the good news, which is bonds down almost 10 basis points at 4.298. So there's some good news. The bonds coming down. Yeah. So, and then you have consumer confidence coming down. And what are the consumers concerned about? Oh, they're concerned about the tariffs, which, the mainstream media has just been shouting and shouting about how horrible oh my gosh, what are the tariffs going to do? And it's going to cause inflation and all the rest, which of course I've been talking about. No, don't even think about it. Don't worry about it. And then, of course, the president this morning adds to the chaos by saying, "Oh no, the tariffs in China and Mexico will be going. China in Canada and Mexico will be going forward." Well, okay, so we have, yeah, it's a wild ride. Let's go ahead and take it apart piece by piece, and I'll try not to be in such a grumpy mood. Well, I want to start with this: voting by vehicle purchase. Could this be a new craze? So this is Richard Cooper. He says, I legitimately dislike electric cars, but I'm thinking about buying a Tesla just to support Elon Musk. And then AJ responds to him. He says, I don't know why you don't like them, but that's an alpha move. He says, same, considering replacing my vehicle ahead of my plan. Well, that's an interesting thought. So should we all now go out and buy a Tesla vehicle as a vote for Elon Musk? Seems like the news fairy, as I mentioned, sent out a PR release today on that every single headline should be asking whether Tesla has a sales problem. And personally, I think we will continue to see some softness, and the softness is going to continue. We will probably not know until the end of April what the first part of the year looks like. I think we're going to find out that by the end of April, Tesla will be running ahead of last year. But January is going to be lower than last year because of the Model Y changeover and the difference in Chinese New Year. February is probably going to have some of the same problem. China might catch up a little, but they still won't have any Model Ys that we're selling in February, except maybe the last few days. And then in March, yeah, things will start to really get going because Model Ys, apparently, from what we heard yesterday, Model Y in China, they're fully ramped up. We know that they're definitely, getting Model Ys pouring out of the California and Austin factory. A little less certain about Berlin, but we'll see. We'll probably hear about that in a day or two. But all of, the whole idea was that they would start selling on March 1. And guess what? We're still a week away. Well, not quite a week, but several days away from March 1. And we know that the vehicles are already being delivered. Yeah, and then, March, that'll be a ramp up for Berlin, all four factories ramping. So March could still be soft. And overall, we've had estimates for the first quarter anywhere from 350 to 375, all the way up to 425, 427. And so, yeah, it's going to be the first quarter is not going to be great. But by the end of April, we'll find out how is Model Y really doing. We'll start getting a lot of response in terms of the actual numbers in China. I'm sure we'll get some numbers out of Europe. And again, I won't be shocked if Europe is a little soft, but who knows by then? So much could change as the news is, happening every single day, really going crazy. Okay, so AJ gives us a little bit of a breakdown on Europe, and he says BEV adoption in Europe remains intact. So the good news is that other car companies that are not ramping brand new vehicles in January did okay. So he says here, EU adoption increased from 10.9 to 15%, where depending on where you were. Europe adoption, which includes the United Kingdom, Iceland, Norway, and Switzerland, increased from 11.9 to 16.7, depending on which country it was there. Norway, for the first time, and as the first country globally, crossed 95% adoption. Adoption is clearly increasing, not only on aggregate all across all markets, but also related to a number of adoption gainers versus the number of adoption losing countries. Only two tiny and poor countries saw some modest loss of BEV adoptions. So you got Denmark up 29%, Malta, also small, up 16%, Belgium, very small, up 12%, Luxembourg, the smallest country in the world, I think, or used to be, up 10%. How come you didn't mention that those are all small also? And the top adoption losers were Romania and Latvia, that only down 3% and 1%. This from Mashable this morning. A January survey of 1,095 people, this is AAA survey, found that 61% do not trust self-driving vehicles. That survey didn't differentiate between semi-autonomous cars like Tesla models and fully autonomous like Waymo. Okay, conversely, 13% trust self-driving vehicles and 26% are not really sure at this point. So then while the percentage of those who remain scared of self-driving vehicles dropped from last year's findings, which was 66%, 2025's results represent a 7% increase in those frightened of using the technology, according to AAA's first self-driving survey conducted in 2021. Well, AAA also queried its panel specifically on robotaxis, finding that 74% knew, 74% knew that self-driving rideshare cars were available in certain cities, but 53% said they would not get into one of those terrible, anyway, I'm kidding, would not ride in one. While millennial and generational X drivers were more receptive to robotaxis than baby boomers, majorities of the younger generation still said they wouldn't ride in such a vehicle. The development of self-driving vehicles was not a priority for respondents. More people wanted investments in vehicle safety systems rather than expanding access to autonomous vehicles. According to AAA's survey, the public's interest in self-driving vehicles has decreased from 18% to 13% this year. Well, I think that's all going to change in about a couple of months. This is Randy Kirk. Please hit the like, subscribe, describe. I don't care. Hit any button. Find a button, hit a button, and then, don't forget that today will be Nick Gibbs, of course, Nicholas Gibbs, and then later on it'll be Brian White at 7:45. Joining Patreon would be good. We had a rush there. Several people joining up over a couple of weeks there, and then now we're back to nobody. So if you've been thinking about it, this would be a good day to do it, to cheer me up after getting up and getting grumpy about the mainstream media. Barron's says this morning that home prices keep on rising to end the year, according to data released Tuesday. Prices nationally rose 3.9 in December, according to S&P CoreLogic. How come they're so far behind? That was a faster gain than the gain of 3.7 in November. Prices in the index tracking 20 of the nation's largest cities came in at 4.5 on that particular analysis. The S&P CoreLogic's Case-Shiller Index continues to highlight the upward trend in home prices nationally, according to Brian D. Luke. S&P Dow Jones Indices head of commodities, I had to read all of that just to get his entire title. Business Insider says, so that's, I guess that's good news, especially if you own homes or a home. Prices are still going up. I'm not sure it's good news to those who are trying to buy their first home. Home Depot says this morning, a Business Insider says of Home Depot this morning that it beat Wall Street's estimates in the fourth quarter, but said their customers were still putting off the bigger home improvement projects because of higher interest rates. Revenues climbed 14% compared to the same period in 2023. That's good. Wow, that's 14%. On a comparable sales basis, a metric that strips out the new store openings and other one-off events. The Atlanta headquarters firm, the company's based in Atlanta, they reported revenues of $39 billion. Analysts had forecast 39. Well, they beat it by $500 million. CEO Ted Decker put the company's better than expected revenue down to greater engagement in home improvement spending. However, he noted that Home Depot was seeing ongoing pressure on business-related and large home scale renovations. So businesses, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, which would be the most likely to use Home Depot as part of any renovation, not doing much renovating, and also the larger, bigger projects by homeowners. A higher interest rate environment impacted home improvement demand, according to Decker. In an interview with CNBC, Richard McPhail said he's the CFO, said the company expects demand to return as higher rates become the new normal. Or he could have said, if interest rates come down, which they are the last 2 days at least. Home improvement always persists. And so the question, I think, will be around the mindset of whether long-term rates have gotten to a new normal and or whether rates come down. Okay, he goes on to say the Federal Reserve's key interest rate, which is a general baseline for all interest rates, reached 5.5 between July 2023 and 2024. It has been cut to 4.5, but of course, treasuries didn't come down, but now they are. While Home Depot reported marginally better than expected revenues, its 2025 forecast fell short of investor expectations. The company said it expected sales growth of 2.8 and comparable sales growth of 1 comparable, in other words, unit for unit, to analyst forecast 3.3. So those were misses. From Business Insider this morning, we have Jeffrey A. Tucker says, all right, this is important. I am concerned that many people do not understand the historical and institutional context in which the DOGE labor reforms are unfolding. They look at this as if these are some random, chaotic, arbitrary, strange, and even cruel measures to impose on a devoted civil service. The reality is very different, and I'm not even sure that Elon entirely understands this. I think Elon does understand it. For more than a century, even dating back to 1883, the civil service has grown and grown without check, and the elected branch, either the presidency or the without check from the elected branch, either the presidency or the legislature. The bureaucracies have ballooned from a few to 450 different agencies. The bloat and absurdities have grown too. You've heard the absurdities. Get this. No one has ever known what to do about it. Not Coolidge, not Hoover, not Nixon, not Reagan, not Clinton, no one. No president has been able to crack this nut. The only reforms ever to have made it through are those that made the administration state bigger, never smaller. Now, Clinton, I have to give him credit. Reagan, for some reason, people are not giving any credit to the commission that was established during Reagan, which did do some good. But the Clinton actually balanced the budget and laid off 375 government employees. So I think overall, I'd give Clinton an A- for that effort. Countless cabinet secretaries have come and gone, always with the intention of making a change, but leaving saddened, demoralized, outwitted, outgunned, and ultimately devoured. No president has seriously taken on this problem because they simply did not know how. The unions are so powerful. The intimidation from the deep institutional knowledge is overwhelming. The fear of the media has been powerful, and every single president comes to power vaguely feeling threatened by the intelligence agencies. The industries that have captured every single agency were also far too powerful to unseat or control. In other words, the regulatory capture idea that all of these agencies are basically being controlled by the industries that they're supposed to be regulating. This combination of institutional inertia has blocked serious reform for a full century. No one has dared. No one has even had a theory or a strategy about what to do with the problem. It has become so terrible that most people in politics have simply surrendered, like homeowners who know there are rats in the basement and bats in the attic, but long ago gave up trying to fix the issue. All this time, the American people have felt themselves ever more oppressed, weighed upon, taxed and regulated, spied upon, browbeaten, and otherwise overwhelmed. Voting never made any difference because the politicians no longer control the system. The bureaucracies ruled all. The Biden years underscored the point. We didn't even see a conscious and present executive. We only needed a figurehead to pretend to be president, just like the Soviet premiers of the old days. The institutions ran everything, and the people controlled nothing. How to deal with this? Trump alone figured it out in his last term. He simply took charge of a few agencies in a limited way. There were screams of horror and plots galore. They performed a long stream of clever schemes to destroy him, to show him who is boss, which is not the democratically elected president, but the forces behind the scenes. The job of the presidents, goes the message from all the insiders, is to pretend to be in charge, but not actually do anything meaningful. Shut up, bug up, obey, and disturb nothing. Let the administrative state do the thing without oversight or disruption, and then you'll get your honorary library and best-selling autobiography and go down in history as great. Trump refused that deal, and look what happened. 4 years have gone by, and Trump is back again, this time with a determination to slay this beast, one that he knows all too well. The efforts of DOGE and MAGA, making America healthy again and making America great again, are epic in scope, breaking a century of pathetic acquiescence towards the deep, middle, and shallow states, at last using moral courage to confront the problem head on, come what may. They're profoundly aware that they must act fast and with some degree of ferocity, even recklessness, else we will default back to the status quo of leaders who pretend to be in charge while the embedded system runs things behind the scenes. It has been this way too long. The voters this time have demanded change and mustered the faith to believe that change is possible. This is precisely what DOGE is attempting. This is to make good on the promise, a promise for once the voters actually believed was credible. They simply must succeed. There might not ever be another chance. The way of failure is a path everybody knows the U.S. was on towards economic stagnation, political sclerosis, and eventual irrelevance in the unfolding of the next stage of social evolution. So we have got a chance to do this. And as one Democratic insider was saying the other day in an interview, he says, look, the president and Elon Musk recognize that the deep state is going to bring all guns. They're going to fight in the courts. They're going to fight in the streets. They're going to fight every way they possibly can to keep this from happening. But it is happening. And Trump knows and Musk knows they're not going to win all the battles. They're going to lose some of the battles. It doesn't matter. You got to hit on every front as fast as you can and as hard as you can, and then you'll win some of the battles. And then some of them are going to get up to the Supreme Court, and maybe we'll win some of those and lose some of those, but there will be wins. There will be victories, and we will push back at least on this deep state. It's absolutely the most fun thing I think I've ever watched in any aspect of government in my very long life. Well, the conference board, oh, by the way, and Elon said there will be some pain. And I think there will be some pain. I've been talking about a recession. Now let's listen to this. The Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index declined by 7 points in February to 98.3. The Present Situation Index, based on consumers' assessment of current business and labor market conditions, fell 3.4 points to 136.5. The Expectations Index, based on consumers' short-term outlook for income, business, and labor market conditions, dropped 9.3 points to 72.9. For the first time since June 2024, the Expectations Index was below the threshold of 80 that usually signals a recession ahead. The cutoff date for preliminary results was February 19th, 2025, just a week ago. In February, consumer confidence registers the largest monthly decline since August, according to Stephanie 𝐤𝐻𝐲. Anyway, senior economist global indicators at the conference board. This is the third consecutive month-on-month decline, bringing the index to the bottom of the range that was prevailing through 2022. Of the components of the index, only consumers' assessment of present business conditions improved, albeit slightly. Views of the current labor market conditions weakened. Consumers became pessimistic about the future business conditions and less optimistic about future income. Pessimism about future employment prospects worsened and reached a 10-month high. February's fall in confidence was shared across all age groups, but was deepest for consumers between 35 and 55 years old. The decline was also broad-based among income groups, with the only exception among households earning less than $15,000 a year and those earning between $100,000 and $125,000 a year. All right, so what impact is that having on the markets? We know it is very, very interesting today for sure. Let me start, as I always do, with Tesla, which is now down $23.55 to $307. We are probably going to go to 270. I mean, we've now broken down. We now have this. This is a fast capitulation, though, but man, it is across the board. So Tesla basically led the way this morning again. NASDAQ is now down 344. The Dow Jones is down 88. Now, some of that probably was already happening before the consumer confidence came out, but the consumer confidence index this time is mirroring the consumer sentiment index from last week, where they had been disparate. Now they are mirroring one another. So you have to, give it a little more credibility. So S&P, Dow, let's look at the percentages. The Dow is down 0.22%, NASDAQ down 1.74%, S&P down 0.93%, Tesla down 6.69%. So second day in a row that it is down more than the 2 to 3 multiple that it typically has against the NASDAQ. We've got Apple down 0.69, Google down almost 2%, Amazon 2.66%, Meta 2.71, Microsoft a full percent, and Nvidia down 3%. So it is a blowout across the board. You've got all the Cathie Woods except for Square, all of them down. 𝐸𝐥 5%, 𝐸𝐸 5.6, PayPal 2.2. So I'm not trying to be negative here at all, believe me. This might be the beginning of the 5 to 10% pullback that I've been saying we need to have. We might even get to 20% pullback on the overall indices. If we get a 20% pullback on the S&P, it could be a 30% pullback on the NASDAQ. These would be normal. These would not be unexpected. All of these indices have been way out over their skis, 23, 24% PE, 23% PE for the entire S&P. This is really way out there. And there's every reason to believe that what's happening in DC right now is going to impact the overall economy. It just has to. And then, all this chaos is causing the VIX. Right now, it was when I last looked, it was up around 20. So the VIX is saying, look, there's chaos, there's confusion, there's uncertainty, and that's what you've been hearing from me for a whole month. There'd be chaos, and for the last 2 weeks, I've been talking about the uncertainty. Well, the VIX is showing us it took a week from the time I started talking about it, but the VIX has been going up, and now it's almost to 20 last time I checked. So, all right, that's where we are with regard to the equities. Let's go ahead and take a look, because the good news is the thing I've been talking about is that this will get the bonds to start moving down. If they believe DOGE, if they believe these things are going to happen, then eventually the bonds have to rally, and that's what's happening right now. Down 10 years down 9.9 basis points at 4.294. Very, very close to that next level, that 4.25. I know this is the Randy levels. You don't have to pay any attention to my levels if you don't want to, but that's what I'm saying is they tend to work around these quarter point levels. The 2-year is down 7.2 basis points. So the 1 month is down 0.3 of a basis point. So overall, the key one, the 10-year, is down almost 10 basis points, one tenth of a basis point short. So also what's happening, of course, is the oil market comes down as a result. So we have finally, it took, I'm 3 days late, but the oil is, Texas Intermediate is down $1.47. We are now at 69.23. Again, I expect this to continue to fall. I'm not saying it will absolutely, but we could be at 65 by the end of this week, and we could be into the 50s next week. Now, part of this has to do with the Ukraine war maybe coming to an end. You've got Jeff. So sorry. No, it's not going to be there. It's going to be over here. We have a report this morning that Brian sent over to me, Jeffrey Sachs, saying that the Ukraine war is over. And, I think he's probably right. I know I'm going super long this morning, but I was shocked yesterday to see the Europeans just say, yeah, okay, Trump, the President Macron saying Trump is a game changer. And it looks like the Ukraine war is over. Okay, so that's really, really super good news, and it's going to help the economy. It's going to help the world economy, actually, to have that over with if it really happens. So yeah, we can see some pain. I've been expecting some pain. We're seeing it right now, right? So let me go on. We have got gold down. I'm sorry. Natural gas actually up a teeny bit this morning, back over $4, up 0.3. Gold down 47.50. Now, this is just like the opposite. You think people go into gold when you've got this kind of uncertainty, but right now, gold is down 47, but still at 29.13. Silver down 2.34%, back down to under 32, 31.84, and copper down 0.63% at $4.48. That's still a high price for copper. The dollar dipping a bit. And Bitcoin, as I mentioned, 7,400 down. That's 7.93%. That's down more than Tesla. At 88,872. Wow, what a morning. What a crazy morning. What can I say? I know there was good news in there too, wasn't there? There was good news, bad news, all kinds of news. I think the overall, quite frankly, the overall is good news. Even with Tesla down that much, the overall is actually good news. Last night, Brian Wong and I had Brian White and I had a great conversation last night. I'll put the card up here. I need to wrap this up. Let's go back. We'll just take one last look at Tesla at $303 down, $27.41. Again, probably going to 270. Let's just be honest. I should probably sell all my shares this morning and buy back in at 270, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to sit on them. Yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because we're going to 480 by when? End of April. 480 after the earnings call. 480. Write it down. 480 back to all-time high after the earnings call in April. The first quarter earnings call, Randy? It's going to be a disaster, the first quarter earnings call. No, it's going to be better than expected. And we will know by that time so much about all of these catalysts that we're concerned about. So yeah, 480 after the earnings call in April. All right, there you go. I'll have to think about that. It sounds crazy even to me. So maybe I should think about it a little longer, but no, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. It has been great, as always. See you later a couple of times with Brian White and with what's his name? Yeah, it's Nicholas Gibbs. It's been great talking to you.